Hi, my name is Fabian, and I have autism. Or as it's typically known since Asperger's is a dead term, autism spectrum disorder. Now, the reason why I want to make these videos is I want to help people understand what it's like to be on the autism spectrum, and I feel that the best way to do that is to go in depth about it and to really try and paint a picture of sort of how I see the world, and I hope that if you know someone on the autism spectrum, it maybe can give you a new understanding, a new appreciation about them. And if you yourself are on the autism spectrum, hi, hello, it's good to see you. And I hope you can take something from what I've gone through and avoid mistakes I've made, right? So the autism in general is very varied, and it's very complex and unique, which is why I love it so. But as a result, if I really want to go in depth and really explain well, I need to sort of break these up into different topics. So the first topic, since Valentine's Day is so close, is I want to talk about what dating/relationships are like when you're on the autism spectrum. Now, if you see me glancing down, I have a little Word document open that has some talking points so I don't ramble, because I do that a lot. But the first thing I want to talk about is flirting/signs when you're on the autism spectrum. And by the way, while I will be talking about my experiences, I'll also be trying to give helpful advice. So if you're someone who is not autistic trying to understand someone who is, or on the flip side, if you are autistic, and hopefully, as I said before, I can give you some pointers so you don't mess up like I have. Anyways, so the first thing I want to talk about, as I've said, probably now a couple times, is flirting/signs. Now, nonverbal communication is a very interesting thing when you're on the autism spectrum, and when it comes to dating, that's important. Because look at it this way, I'll put it on screen now, but if you go onto YouTube and you type in "how to know if or I think that's what you type in, some of the top results are going to be how to know if a guy likes you, how to know if a girl likes you. So clearly that matters. So I guess the best place to start off is how weird showing signs is if you're on the autism spectrum. Now, if you're someone who's trying to find out if a certain guy or gal likes you, and let's say they're like me, where the fact that we're on the autism spectrum is not exactly a secret. Side note, take a shot every time I say autism or autism spectrum. Your liver is gonna hate you afterwards. Don't actually do that. But yeah, so if you're trying to find out whether that a certain guy or gal on the autism spectrum likes you, I have some interesting news for you. When it comes to nonverbal communication, we're very bad at it. I have what I like to call a stone face, where happy, sad, angry, frustrated, hungry, my face doesn't change that much other than slight movements of the eyebrows and the occasional smile. So when it comes to sort of seeing if a certain person on the spectrum likes you, good luck with that. I can't really think of any signs either to tell anyone who's, I guess, as it's called, neurotypical, to look out for, because there really isn't any signs. I know personally how I act with someone I like, and how I act with someone I just like as a friend. It's not that different. I guess the only thing I could say is I might care more, but no, because I care a lot about my friends too, so I'm sorry. The only advice I can really give you on that one is, if you like someone, just tell them. That's probably the best way to go about it. And by the way, my fellow people on the spectrum, that's my advice for you too. It's, if you like someone, it's hard, don't get me wrong. And I mean, sometimes the girl might make the first move. That's the thing. My advice, if you're neurotypical and you like someone on the autism spectrum, is you're probably going to have to make the first move, because unless you're okay waiting until your hair turns gray, it's not gonna go out well. Like, look at it this way. If this right here is nonverbal communication, and the screen that I'm pointing at with a pen right now is me, or most people on the spectrum, this is how on point we are, or what happens to not obvious signs of attraction, right? The point is it misses entirely. So yeah, the best thing is you might need to either, if not make the fact that you like them painfully obvious, you might need to make the first move. And as I was saying before, my fellow autistic people, you're also, like, it's difficult, and if you need to do it in a weird way, do it how it works for you. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, you have to be confident, if you have to be this overly confident macho type if you want anyone to like you, and that's not true. Like, if you need to do it a certain way, you do it. I've asked people out online because that was the only way I used to be comfortable doing it, and it's worked before. Like, the point is, the right people won't care is basically what I'm saying. Like, if that person is right for you, they're gonna be okay if you have to ask a certain way. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, hopefully, I really hope I didn't miss anything, but the next thing I want to talk about is how to confess. So, you like someone. How do you tell them? Well, really the best advice I could give you is just speak honestly and truthfully from the heart. Be true to yourself. As the golden rule in every grade 1 book says, be yourself. Be yourself, I don't know. Oh yeah, and don't be extra. Like, don't, look at it this way, if it sounds like something a quote-unquote nice guy would say, it's probably a bad idea. Like, hold on. I can tell you what I mean. You know, it should never be a case of, darling, my love for you burns with the passion of 1,000 suns. Cause that is scary. Yeah. I actually own a fedora. Never thought it would come in handy in times like this. I think I only used it I used it once for like a project, and I would occasionally try to rock one because I know it's a meme, but I don't care. I like how the hat looks. Anyways, segue. The next thing I want to talk about as I look for and take a drink from my delicious water, because I'm an H2 ho. As I said, the next thing I want to talk about is how to confess. I already did the segue. But yeah, just be true to yourself. Like, I'll tell you a story that I think will paint the picture well. So, my last relationship, I dated someone who I considered one of my best friends. And I confessed to them because I realized that I had fallen in love with them. Now, that's one hell of a bomb to drop on anyone. How do you do it without feeling stupid? Now, there are a lot of people that might try to downplay it and be like, oh, you know what, I have a bit of a crush on you. Meanwhile, you're thinking, I'm in love with them. Oh, and just to add context, we were friends for like, I think 4 years beforehand, and we were super close the whole time, and sort of that friendship like organically developed to that. I should specify, I don't just fall in love with random people on the streets. That would be unfortunate, really, and weird. But yeah, so I'd fallen in love with my best friend, and I had talked to a therapist I see. I had talked to a lot of friends about it, and to ask advice, because again, how do you drop that bomb on someone? And first of all, everyone unanimously said, you have to tell her. Because as scary as it is to mess up a close friendship like that, having those sorts of feelings on your mind will fuck up the friendship anyway. So if you can get it off your chest, then that's probably the best way. Oh yeah, one last thing, don't make it awkward. Don't. But yeah, so the way I confessed, since I need to get to there's a point to this story, was we would always have these long hangouts, and at the end of one hangout, I basically just said, look, I'm in love with you. That's how it is. I probably have been for about a year, maybe longer, and I just didn't know it. And if you don't feel that way, that's okay. I'm not expecting you to say it back. You can take as much time as you need. I don't want to, I would never put that sort of pressure on you. Oh, my mic sounds weird. Hello. Hello. Okay. It might just be the headphones. But yeah, I would never want to put that pressure on you. So you take the time you need, and when you are sure, and if there's any sort of feelings, let's give it a shot. And if you don't feel that way, I completely understand. I just needed to get this off my chest so it wouldn't damage our friendship. And the reason why that's a good way to go about it is, again, it's honest, it's genuine, it's heartfelt, but you're not sprinkling extra pseudo-poetic BS in there. Because the thing is if you try to play it off too cool, like you're some cool guy with your cool guy shades and cool jacket and shit-eating grin, people will see through that. I know, fellow autistic people, it's sometimes hard to forget, sometimes hard to realize when nonverbal cues are so alien to us, but people, like neurotypical people, are very good at picking up on that sort of stuff. And if you're not being sincere, they will know that. And let me tell you something, as corny and after school specially as it sounds, in my experience, the most attractive quality you can display is sincerity. Or at least that's what's gotten me the count 'em 2 relationships I've been in. By the way, I'm not an expert. This is just one guy's opinion. The last thing that I want to talk about is the importance of both honesty and communication. Let me say it again. Honesty and communication. These are important in any relationship because that's the foundation of trust, and that's the building blocks of being in a healthy one. But it's especially important when you have really any sort of condition. When it comes to honesty, one thing I did, so in that same relationship that I was telling you the story about how I confessed, so she ended up having some feelings for me, not love per se, but to be honest, I didn't expect that. But she definitely did find me attractive and did have feelings for me. So we went on a couple dates and they were really well. They went really well. Come on, man, tongue twisters. You were in a vocal class. But yeah, it went really well. Damn it. And so we ended up having I think it was an hour and a half conversation about sort of the stuff that we need from each other, because we both had conditions, and I'm obviously not going to disclose hers. I'm not an asshole, but for example, I am on the autism spectrum. I'm diagnosed as being depressed, and a couple other things that I may or may not be talking about later or at another time. So we talked about basically what we needed from each other, because the thing is when you have a condition, don't let her discover it because it reveals itself in an ugly way. You have to talk about it from the start, and if she consciously decides, you know what, I understand it and I'm completely fine, I accept you for who you are, I like you, we'll deal with the condition, then that's great. But you have to you talk about what you need from that relationship. What you've done is you've informed the parties. You've made sure that if you do something wrong, even though it is still your fault, at least it was known about. So it's not like oh God, why did they suddenly out of nowhere do that mean thing? It's sort of like okay, they got overwhelmed and they said something they didn't mean. It's still hurtful and I expect an apology, but I at least understand. Like that's the importance of saying it. Like, I'll give you an example from my life. So part of autism is I have a very heavy reliance on routine, where I need structure from my life, and I usually do my best to get it however I can. Of course, it's not always possible, but you do the best you can. And to sort of paint the picture for you, if I have a class canceled, that heavily messes with me, because even though I'm very much the type that likes to try and go with the flow and sort of just figure it out as it happens, I still have a rough idea of what I'm doing every day. And when out of nowhere, that plan gets taken out from me, my brain is almost like, oh God, we're supposed to be in class to 2 to 4, I guess. Yeah, we're supposed to be in class from 2 to 4, but now we're not going to be. Should we go nap? We're kind of sleepy, but if we nap, we won't be able to get the assignments done. So we got to do the assignments. Oh, but I'm tired, so I won't be able to focus properly. I need to make sure I'm putting forth my best effort. And oh God. But yeah, that's the type of chaos that goes through my head. And so what I, for example, in that situation said was, I can't have plans canceled at the last second. For additional context, we were long distance and we would like FaceTime or /Skype every day. So, for example, if we're Skyping at 8, don't take a spur of the moment dinner plan at 7:50 without saying or giving almost no time to react, because that's a yikes. But the thing to remember too is, when you have a condition, you also have to be open to compromise, because you also have to respect the other party's feelings. There, I said it! But yeah, you have to respect the other person's feelings too, because that's the basics of a relationship. It's give and take. Sometimes it's not going to be equal parts, but you have to be able to respect the person. Like, I don't know, I'm going off topic, but yeah, you have to respect the other person's wishes, feelings, and emotions. Like, for example, if, let's say, you're dating someone with a very hectic life and they can't give you that, in my case, let's say I'm dating someone with a very hectic life and they can't give an hour or so notice if there's a change of plans, because life happens. An alternative way or a compromise could be, okay, look, I can't give you an hour's notice, but if you don't get a text at this time, assume that we're Skyping or we're FaceTiming at the same time. Yeah. But yeah, that's sort of that's the importance of compromise, and that's sort of the importance of honesty. It's sort of make sure, I'm just trying to summarize the point, make sure that the negative aspects of your condition don't surprise the person you're with. Make sure it is talked about in detail beforehand. And sort of just to segue, not sure how to segue properly. But yeah, the segue into the final thing I want to talk about is the importance of communication. Now, communication is important in sort of the way you do it too, especially if you're dating someone with autism. And why? Because contrary to popular belief, not only do people on the autism spectrum, sorry if there's background noise, the laundry's going, I don't think it's going to be picked up in editing, but just in case. But yeah, shit, what was I saying? I just sidetracked myself. Right, so contrary to popular belief, not only do people on the autism spectrum have empathy, we have almost too much of it, where we have difficulty regulating our emotions. So for example, you might feel, we feel emotions a lot more, I guess, heavily. So, like, for example, I've had people tell me stories about stuff that's so far away from my life and that really I couldn't possibly fathom, but those stories have still, I felt for them, and I almost experienced that sorrow with them, because that's just, I almost feel people's emotions with them, if that makes sense. It's contagious like a cold. But as a result, in a relationship, let's say there's an issue that comes up, the best way to do it is to wait till you're calm and rational. Now, of course, sometimes, no one's perfect, no one's infallible, we all make mistakes, and we all say stuff in the moment that we later regret. But there's special importance when it comes to the autism spectrum with making sure you're calm and rational enough to properly discuss an issue. I know in my last relationship, one of the biggest issues was the communication was very poor. So if we would talk about issues at all, it was always when it's been so bottled up that it just explodes in a tirade of anger, and then there's hurt feelings all around, which isn't right. And I know that now, but my God, do I wish I knew that back in the day. But yeah, so if you have a condition, you have to communicate. And both parties too. My advice, again, is just to keep being honest and communicate and talk about issues. Don't let them pile up to where you get angry and overwhelmed and you say shit that later, like, come on, I didn't mean to say that. That was messed up, you know? Because that's how you avoid hurt feelings, is to communicate. But yeah, I think I covered everything. So to summarize, when flirting signs, best piece of advice I could give you, just go for it. Just do it. Take a shot every time I say autism spectrum, honestly, genuine, and some form of do it. Because if you want a fun drinking game that will mess you up, that's it. Don't actually do that. But yeah, so flirting signs, be honest, be straightforward. And if you're going to ask somebody, if you like someone, it's better to just tell them. Now, how to confess, don't be extra. Don't put a whole bunch of unnecessary shit. Don't bust out the miladies. That's a bad idea. The importance of honesty and the importance of communication. Stay honest with each other. Don't let the negative parts of your condition surprise people. Make sure they're aware of it. And the importance of communication, talk about your problems. Don't let them bottle up and be festered, because truthfully in any relationship that's a bad idea, but especially because of how intensely people on the autism spectrum sometimes feel emotion. You know, you could be doing a lot more damage psychologically than you realize by bottling it up and exploding. But yeah, so I hope you liked watching that. I hope to make this a running thing here. I have a couple ideas in mind, but I hope listening to me talk about my experiences and listening to me talk about what I've gone through and I've dealt with has helped you appreciate. Maybe you know someone who's autistic, and hopefully you have a brand new appreciation of them. People on the autism spectrum watching this, I hope you've pulled something useful from this. But yeah, thank you for watching. Leave a like if you liked it. Subscribe for more like this, and bye. Bye.